Hello, everyone. My name is Marcelo Gleiser, and it's actually hard to start to speak after that spectacularly read poem, Singularity, and this video that I brought to kind of summarize the history of everything in about a minute, which obviously it's only the basic ideas of what's out there. However, you notice that, and I did not know this, this was Susan's thing, I guess, that the poem is about singularity, and this video starts with a singularity, which basically means the beginning of everything, which remains one of the biggest mysteries of existence. We do not know how the universe came to be, but what we do know is how to tell the history of the universe after this so-called singularity, and how slowly matter started to self-organize into structures with growing complexity. And eventually, about a million years or so, 10 million years or so after this so-called singularity, the first stars were born. And from these stars, we had galaxies, and those stars had planets moving around them. And we know that at about 5 billion years ago, in one of these trillions of planets that exist, our planet, planet Earth, life emerged. Now, we also don't know how life emerged, but what we do know is that there is a beautiful, powerful continuity of being, a flow of matter that goes from one structure to another. And somehow, in this planet, at least, maybe there are other worlds out there, we don't know, but we do know about ours, where this thing called life emerged. Life being matter with purpose, with intentionality, and it evolved in such a way in this world of ours that very complex beings became possible, let's put it that way. And one of them, the species that we belong to, became one species that can tell stories that can be recorded as memories. And one of the amazing things that we can do now, and we have to recognize that, is that we can tell the history of the universe as a whole. That we can actually even say that the universe has a history because we are here to tell it. And this movie, this short, I call it a movie meditation, it tells something kind of profound about our presence in this world, because it shows, first of all, what Thich Nhat Hanh, the wonderful Buddhist monk, called interbeing, which is, I'm sure, a topic that may come back with other distinguished friends here in this panel, the notion that we're all connected, that there is no separation between who you are and everything else. Well, that is not just a Buddhist teaching or a teaching that comes from many different kinds of mystics and poems and artists, but also from cutting-edge science, that we carry the whole universe within ourselves. I mean, the atoms that you're made of are actually remains of stars that blew up billions of years ago. Stop to think about this for a second, right? That we are actually truly animated stardust that can tell stories. That is awesome. Talking about an awe-eliciting feeling, right? That we can do this. And yet, having said that, the movie is not just about the awesomeness of existence, but also what we have done with the powers that we have developed. Our ability to transform matter into tools, to create technologies that have transformed the world, and they have made the world wonderful in some ways, as Susan mentioned in her beautiful introduction, by the wonders of medicine, and science has helped so much. But as the Buddha said, wherever there is light, there is shadow. And it's the choices that we make in using the technologies that we developed that can drive civilization in let's call it, in the pathway of light or in the pathway of shadow. And I think we are now at a crossroads. We are now at a point in our collective existence where we have to rethink. And that's why it's wonderful that Proust appeared with this notion of changing the way you see what you have in front of you, because we grew up with a narrative that is couched on this notion, very powerful notion of the Enlightenment, which dominated Western thinking and still dominates Western thinking, that basically says that the only path to the truth is human reason. Everything else is secondary to that. And that notion has to go, because that notion is essentially creating a rift between the Western way of thinking about the world and many other cultures that have other things to say about our relationship to nature and to the natural world, including the notion of interbeing, the notion that nature is sacred, the notion that we are not above nature at all, that we are very much part of the natural world and very much codependent with all aspects of life. So this idea that we can control the world, that we can control nature, that we can control global warming by using science to solve our problems is a myth that is coming from this notion of the Enlightenment. And we need to create a post-Enlightenment view of who we really are, our fragility as a species, our limits as we talk about what we can and cannot understand about the world. You know, as you remember, I said, we do not understand the origin of everything. We do not know what life is. We're very good at telling what life does, but we have no understanding of what life is. And we also don't know how consciousness emerged in humans and, of course, in many other animals at different levels. But one thing that we do know is that we humans have the capacity of reinventing who we are. And I think that is the biggest hope for me in this conference, for me in the many conferences where a growing number of people are getting together to basically reframe the narrative of what it means to be human in this planet, in our connection with all kinds of life. And the notion that we are above has to go, because we are not. We breathe the air, we drink the water, we need the energy. All of those things cannot exist without the world around us. And we need to wake up to that. And I think Susan wanted to have us have a few action items, not just talk about these stuff, but I think that one of the fundamental basic lessons that we can have as individuals is to actually believe that as a person, as an individual, you can make a change too. And the change that you make is by making choices that have to do at least with the notion of less. What I mean by that, less water, less energy, less meat, less garbage, less transportation, and more connection with the natural world. So the less use of the resources and the more connection. And what I would call really is this post-Enlightenment idea of the need for us as a species to resacralize the planet. We need to go back to the notion that our planet is sacred, that life is sacred, and that we have to rethink the way we react and connect to the world as an infinite kind of idea of resource and progress. That has to go. And we have to have this kind of epistemic humility to understand that we need to learn much more about who we are in this planet and treat it with the respect that it deserves. That's it for me.